Welcome to Metabolic Maestro. I teach men to restore internal order so that self-mastery becomes inevitable. Let's dive in to the sacred feast. Why is it a sacred feast? Most men, when they embark on a fasting regimen, mostly they tend to do well during the fast. And you start to feel really good during fasting. Most men push it and really go to the extreme, where you've probably heard people going 14 days, 21 days, 40 days fasting, which I don't recommend. Long-term fast. And then ultimately they come off the fast and essentially break the discipline they had during the fasting. What happens here is a loss of self-authority, self-directedness, and allowing primal desires, sensual desires to take over. And this is not how it's done. And oftentimes, most men who fast overeat, overindulge, binge after the fast and essentially erase all the benefits they had. And some people actually go to the extreme of just eating just horrible food, super oily, greasy, highly processed foods that some of them get really ill, have to get serious medical attention, and some people even die. So this is not something to take lightly, especially if you're going to do a long, extended fast, which I do not recommend. This is not the Maestro system. The Maestro path is a time-constrained fasting rhythm. It's called a fasting rhythm for a reason. Your stomach, take this, that's about the size of your stomach, fist. You put it just under just the lower rib cage is under your chest. That's where your stomach is on your left side of your body. And this is nature telling you, hey, these are about the limits of the food that I can handle and process based on a certain rhythm, based on a certain cycle. Now science says, depending where you read, that your stomach can actually expand to hold about a liter of food or about 1.2 liters of food. So that's about 4 cups to 6 cups of food at a certain time, a certain interval. Of course, depending on what you eat, it's also going to depend how fast that moves through your stomach, and also can determine how much food you can eat within a certain amount of time. And this is why the Maestro Sacred Feast is designed in the way that is designed. Now, if you want to go be a vegan, if you want to go do keto, if you want to go do carnivore, if you want to go do juicing, be a fruitarian, a breatharian, go ahead. All those things are valid to a certain degree, and they all work to a certain degree. This is not the Maestro path. The Maestro path consists of fasting 24, 36, 46 hours, and that's a rhythm. So you can slide on that continuum you can slide depending on your lifestyle, depending on your goals, and depending on what stage of life you are in or what's being presented to you. So what I mean is, let's say you're someone who is really tuned into a 46-hour fast. So that means you have a 2-hour eat-in window for the sacred feast. And you go ahead and dependent whether you're in the 24, 36, 46 hours, no matter where you are on this continuum, you're always breaking your fast in this particular order. So you start after having your training, your high intensity training. It doesn't have to be till you pass out. It just has to be till you send the signal to the muscle to grow. Because this regimen is also promoting and encouraging beauty in appearance and form, in aesthetic physique. Though that's not the primary focus, it's a byproduct, and so we encourage it through training and also through eating and breaking the fast in a certain way. So you start off with protein. Protein triggers mTOR. That's for your muscle to get the signal to grow, for muscle protein synthesis. This is important on the Maestro path. You don't fast 46 hours and be able to gain muscle by just breaking your fast randomly. You have to do it in a very specific way. So you do that, and then you just need to eat your protein about 20 grams. You really just need about 5 grams of leucine to hit your system within 10 to 15 minutes when you start eating. Ideally, as soon as you finished working out, that's when you want it to hit that. Once you get that, then you go ahead and you add your carbs. Carbs are to restore glycogen into your system, into the muscles, to energize it. Glycogen helps to energize, refill the muscles with energy that has been lost through fasting and also through the exercise that you just did. So once you have some carbs after the protein, then you can go ahead and enjoy your meal as you would normally eat. So you can have, some rice, some protein, whatever you want. If you want to stay more veggie, you can do some beans, do some tofu. You can also do some tuna. You can do some lean meats. And when you do your protein, one thing that I didn't say or I forgot to mention was that you want to keep it lean, because when you have a fatty protein, what happens is the fat blunts insulin sensitivity. And at this point, you're very insulin sensitive after a fast. And after the training, GLUT4, which are like essentially the doors to the cells, open up. Just naturally, they're just begging for that food to come in. They just want it, that nourishment. So, without the help of insulin, GLUT4 receptors open up, and so you're not getting a flood of insulin into your system, and you're still insulin sensitive, by the way. So you want to keep that insulin sensitivity as long as possible. At least for the first hour and a half of your eating regimen, you want to be very insulin. You want to promote and encourage that insulin sensitivity. So you want to have lean meats. If you're going to go meats, and if you're just doing like a vegan style, you want to have lean protein sources. The fat blunts insulin sensitivity, slows the digestion, the absorption of the protein, and just causes a backlog of the whole digestion process. So now that stomach being able to hold so much of food, it can only hold so much. They're going to take advantage of the processes of how the body can really digest the food and process and assimilate it and eliminate it as quickly as possible. And you don't want to slow it down with the fats. This is the Maestro path. Do you want to go ahead and do the high fat carnivore keto thing? Like I said, those have their places. There's nothing wrong with them. They do work to a certain degree. Feel free to do that. This is not the Maestro path. So you finish, you start with the protein, lean protein. You do the carbs to refill glycogen. Protein triggers mTOR. Carbs refills glycogen. Then you eat a mixed plate. Your rice, your potatoes, your proteins, fish, meat, whatever you want. And then you can have some low minimum amount of fat with that. You want to keep the fat low. At this point, you really want to just keep the fat low. That's the Maestro path. The fats are kept low so that it doesn't blunt insulin sensitivity and it doesn't slow the digestion. It's how you stay lean and keep growing muscle. That's how it's done. I'm living proof of this. And once you get this down, then you come to the aspect of the regimen where we're using not only time constrained fasting, so 24, 36, 46 hours. And like I said, you can slide back and forth along that continuum. I'm thinking if I want to touch on this topic right now, we are at 12 minutes and I do want to dive into it. I don't want to rush this part of it, though I did kind of start with this. So you know what? I will finish off with it. Be as brief as possible, but cover it entirely. So essentially, you can slide in this continuum. It's not a rigid, oh, I gotta do 24 hours or a 24-hour regimen every day. No, you can if that's your natural cycle. Some people, based on their work, based on their lifestyle, based on their goals, they wanna do a 24-hour regimen. That means you fast 22 hours and you hit your workout at 21 hours and you eat at 22 hours, 2-hour window. Some people that works really great and they want to keep that. But let's say you're at that side of the continuum where you're doing 22 hours of fasting and eating for 2 hours. Now, let's say you're looking at your calendar, you're looking at your life, and in about a week, you have a wedding coming up. Wedding's coming up, and you know that you want to enjoy that day. You don't want to bring an energy of antagonism, of tension in the environment where people are offering you food, people are eating, and you're having to explain your regimen. And that's cool. You can be that guy. I've definitely been that guy. Definitely been that guy in many situations. And it's cool. It's a way to really just be self-directed and practice discipline. But over time, you just want to enjoy life. And this is why this regimen allows it. So when an event like that comes up, you can slide to 36 hours. So you decide, okay, I'm going to fast 36 hours And then for that day, open my window up for 12 hours. And now, if I open my window up, let's say at 9 a.m. on that day, I can enjoy the whole festivities till about 9 p.m. And guess what? I can go right back into a 24-hour or do it another 36 hours just so the timing aligns with your rhythm again, and then continue with the 22 hours of fasting, 2 hours of feasting. So that's just one example. And you can do this with all the different fasts in the regimen. You can do a 36-hour if that's what works for your lifestyle. Some people, that's what they want to do. They want to do the 36-hour, have a nice big open window to eat. And then again, you go ahead and you repeat the rhythm. Keep on repeating. And you can do it at 46. You can also do a 40-hour. You can do a 44-hour. Right now, personally, I love the 44, 46-hour vibes. But depending on where you're at, this is not a rigid thing. It's very flexible and allows you to eat as much as you want to eat, and while honoring and respecting the body and eating in a very specific way. No matter where you're at, you're always going to break your first with protein, the carbs, and then you eat whatever you want. It's very important. If you want this, if you want the leanness, if you want that leanness, that's what I wanted to bring to the table for you today. Because when you do the Maestro path, it's very specific. And then you don't get into that situation where you're just randomly going for who knows how long on a fast. You just keep extending it because you feel good. And then you go ahead and one day something happens and you decide to break your fast and you just break it horribly. And then you find yourself in deep trouble. That's not what this is. If you do it the way I just explained, you're going to be just thriving, feeling good, allowing your body to do its repair processes and just rejuvenate, regenerate, revitalize you from the physical to the mental to the emotional to the soul level. That's how we do it. And over time, you use the sacred feast as an opportunity to hone your discipline. Instead of losing it, you use the time constraints and the rhythms as a way to hone your discipline, to continue the practice, so that even in the midst of pleasure, even in the midst of abundance, you're able to be self-contained, you're able to be self-directed, not lose yourself to your primal drives, but be able to hone them. Be the man who is grounded, be the man who is poised, who's self-directed and self-controlled, disciplined. So remember, fasting is a doorway, stillness is the foundation, and discipline is the path. I made a 24-hour reset guide to help you begin. The link is in the bio. Check it out. Till next time, be still.